because I do have say the word lecture, but I have some new information I want to pass on to y'all. Okay, do you want to share your word mark?
Sure.
And some people who normally come on here did say that they might not be on here for Thanksgiving, which is fine.
So I'd actually ended up doing 3. I liked these left 2 as my final designs. But then I had done the middle one first, and it concerned me because the description said not to use an image that held a lot of weight, that it kind of overtook the logo. So I went with more of just a colored design as my second one, and then the third one I went for just like a simpler. I didn't like how it turned out, but it's I tried it. It just felt like it didn't work.
Give it a shot. That's fine. It's good to give things a shot.
Yep.
Interesting that you have done those 3, because I think that will help you with the next project, which is we're going to do the menu for this restaurant.
Okay.
So it could be for this, if you're just doing the logo, the one on the left would be fine. And it may be that you want to revisit the other 2 as part of the menu.
I would definitely revisit the middle one as part of the menu.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So what do you like about it? What do you think's working? What do you wish you would had more time to work on? Obviously, you mentioned you don't really like the third, the far to the right composition with the sun and everything, but that's besides that, just the mark wise.
I actually I like how the mark kind of looks as it is. I mean, it came out the way I was hoping it would, with the fade into the ladle. I had the idea of having a liquid in and just kind of have it so it's sitting on the bottom, affected by gravity. And I really liked Daniel's splash with his drink responsibly. So I added the splash in, give it that, gravitational look, because it's not static. It looks like it's sloshing.
Right.
And so have that splash coming out in an opposite direction to the slant of the entire logo.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say maybe the in white probably isn't working the greatest, but as contrast to the black, I left it alone.
Actually, it does stand out a little too much. You could easily make that a very slight gray, like silvery, like the ladle. That could be an easy fix for that. So on my computer, I think it looks great. I think, you could fix the because it's standing out too much because it's in white. I think the whole ladle and the swoosh is working great. The only thing, and it could be because of my computer screen, the beat color is a little red. A little too blood red, although it's not really blood red. It's I'm talking about in the liquid in the ladle. It is pink. It's not fire engine red. I mean, it's really not blood red. I mean, what are your thoughts about that as to trying to make sure people don't see blood?
I didn't look at beets by themselves are very
beets are red,
dark red, purple.
Yeah.
I guess I could give it more of a purple hue.
See, I think a little bit more violet / pinky / purple.
Okay.
You still want it to be bright because you don't want dark red, because then you're definitely in the blood range. But I think if you veered it a little bit more pinky purpley, I think that would just eliminate the possibility of it being blood.
Gotcha.
Plus, you say beet right there. So, I mean, it's not like you're missing what it is.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Belinda, thanks for joining us. We're just talking about Nick's mark. You have any comments about his Turnip the Beat logo? Mark, word mark logo?
Sorry, I just got dealing with a 2-year-old, but I do like them. I think I like the other ones more.
You mean with the backgrounds?
With the backgrounds, yeah. Maybe I like the middle one the best.
Okay. Why do you like that one?
It just there's more to it than just the background.
Okay. Yeah. And he did those extra, which actually I mentioned to him that that might come in useful in the next project, our last project. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Nick, I think already with the pinkiness that you're changing right now, I can see. Don't you think that already looks a little bit better?
Yeah, it does look a little better. I still have to play with it. It looks a little off still, but yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit more like that with the purpley pinky.
Mm.
And you have the choice, actually, another way maybe to make it. I mean, it looks like you have a gradient in.
Yes, I do.
You do there already? Yeah.
That's what I was editing was because I've got it kind of 5 split up there.
So you could gradiate and have it get more purple at one point because the beets can be sort of purpley. Maybe, have the gradient be purple, more purple, and the non-gradient, the lighter part being more pink. Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, Nick, share your screen, and Belinda, do you have your word mark you can share?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is the one I decided to go with.
Aha, Lord of the Fries. Yeah. Tell us about it. What are your thoughts? You made some changes?
I've played with it. I put cover the entire thing with fries and try to do maybe do the onion rings and the other fries in the background really super light. And I really didn't like that, so I just stuck with the curly fry going down the center, not the center of it, but
No, not the center, but that's fine. In fact, it's good that it's off center because it's a real curly fry. It has some, yeah.
And then with the other one with the actual fries, I did your suggestion and took out the letters, like the fries, and kept the bottom fries and try to play around with colors and stuff like that. It just didn't come out the way I liked it.
Okay. Now, what about this one? Did you try any colors besides black for the actual words? Did you try a brownie fry color at all?
I did. It's just, I don't know. It just looked too much like the French fry.
Too much like the fry? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted it to kind of stand out by itself.
Okay. I might be interested in seeing that. The only thing that I think is it's a little, I don't know the right word. I mean, obviously it's a mark, and the fries in there, Lord of the Fries, it goes together. But I think that it could use some, if it was slightly not black, if it was something slightly fry color, it would pull it together a little bit more.
Okay.
So I might have to look at that. And we have some time to look at that. Nick, what do you think?
I just think it's a little on the simple side. But yeah, I probably would have tried different fonts, or something to make it really stand out, make it pop more.
What font is that?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Okay, yeah. That's fine. It's hard to remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like the fact that it's simple. And actually, I've told Nick this, we're going to do the menu for this restaurant as our last project.
Okay.
And so you have some time to make some changes. And I think once you get it on the menu, then I think some other colors might come. And I love the ofs and the coming into the middle off that. And normally I would never have. So that is working. And the fact that you've got Lord justified left and Fries justified right is working. I might play around with the I in fries a little bit. I either want to make it go all the way. It's lined up with the E, but not the R, and I know why that is. That's the way the font is. Or I might violate the rule and put the I in the middle of the E and the R, and have the rest right justified. Okay. Interestingly enough, one thing you could do as a variation of this is just take the I out and fry. And I'm not suggesting this. Let's say you have a part of the menu where you don't want to have the big fry, curly fry through the middle. Mm-hmm. You could just make the I in fries a curly fry.
Okay.
As a thought.
Okay.
And still have the whole up and down thing like you have. I love the slant of the curly fry. That's working good. Okay. Did you try having the of and the closer to the curly fry?
I did. But then like with the of, if you move the D over,
it gets too close.
Run into that fry.
Right. Okay. Just wondering. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Looking good. You can unshare. So a couple things. Just to go over, first I want to go over the rest of the semester. And then I have a bit of new information I want to share with y'all. And since our critique was short, just because there are two of y'all, we might end a little early. So here is the plans. So there are no deadlines for this class this week through Sunday. I would say with you all, I mean, you guys, I think are both all caught up. Belinda, you and Nick, you guys aren't behind on anything that I know of, right?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think I am either.
I don't think you are either. I think you guys are all caught up. Not everyone in class is caught up. So people listening to the recording of this, if you are behind in something, this is your week to catch up. So use that. So otherwise, you guys can catch up in other classes, and I am going to give you a little bit of hint of what we're doing. You can work on this, although there's no required deadline. So then starting on Monday after Thanksgiving, which I believe is November 30th, I will introduce to you the new project, which is we're going to take this word mark logo, which you've just done, and we are going to create the menu for the restaurant. And it's a tall menu. I think it's 4 inches it's one of those tall menus you get in a restaurant, 9 inches by 4 inches or something. I think it's the format. Not that that's important. I'll introduce that next Monday. So basically, we will have 2 weeks to work on the menu. Then, so next week after Thanksgiving, we will do the research and the thumbnails. Then the following week, which is December 7th through 13th, we will look at the thumbnails, do roughs, and the final. So that will be the menu project. And it's just 2 sides. So it's 2 sides, front and back. It's a tall, skinny menu. So then that same week of December 7th through the 13th, which is the last full week of the semester, on that class on Monday, I am going to go over the final exam study guide. And basically, it is all the stuff we looked at in the midterm with a couple things added. Most of the final is stuff we covered before the midterm, with a few additions. I forget what we did after the midterm. I think then we do leading and tracking, kerning, all that stuff after the midterm. So things like that. And I will go over that. So not this coming Monday, the 30th, but December 7th, we will go over everything that's going to be on the final. And there is a study guide that we will go through. Then the last week of class is December 14th and 16th. So that's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That whole week at 2 a.m., I think on Monday, I will open up the final. Or I've already got it set up. The Blackboard will open up the final. And then you have from Monday night, basically, or Monday morning, all the way till noon on December 16th to complete the final exam. So 2 full days and a half day to do the final. And it's basically open study guide and open book final. Any questions sort of about the sort of our general schedule between now and December 16th?
No.
Okay. My goal is to have then final grades done on the 16th. So as soon as you guys are done with the test at lunchtime on the 16th, I will do the grades and turn them in on the 16th. I'm trying to think. Obviously, I will have more detailed deadlines, which I'm going to send out, I think, in an announcement and an email after class. And I'll post it in the Blackboard, which may or may not be open already. Would you guys like me to open up the menu project now? Do you want to look at it before Monday, or do you care?
Doesn't matter. I was thinking about looking at it just to see.
Well, I might open it up just so you can see it, but there's nothing due for that.
Okay.
This week till Sunday. Belinda, is that okay for you? I'll just open it up. Don't do anything. You don't have to do anything.
Yes, sir. That'll be fine. Okay.
I will do that. With that, if there are no more questions, I want to quickly look at a set of PowerPoints, and they call this type crimes. I have labeled it type do's and don'ts. Either way, I just want to go through that very quickly, and it's really about text in a thing like a menu or books or magazine. It's talking more about just the things you want to really think about. Sort of, we talked about don't stack type, although with every rule you can always break it. These are general rules that you can break, but you have to be careful when you do it. So let me share the screen. Oops.
I think the menu is available already.
Is it 13? Okay. It should be module 13. So it is already available? Good.
Yeah, it's already up there.
Okay. So in module 12 should have, the only thing in it is this thing I'm getting ready to show you called type crimes, this PowerPoint. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so module 13, great. It's open. Fabulous. Sometimes, I think I've gotten things open, and I don't think I have the study guide open, but that will open on December 6th, I think. And it'll be open that whole week. So that won't be open until a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Okay. So with this, I just want to talk a little bit again about some rules of thumb, and you can break them, but you want to think about it. So, and this is just really talking about things that mainly as you're doing a design, you want to make sure, and one of the great things is have another designer that you're working with, or team member, or someone else in class, look at it and just sort of has a checklist, as you're looking at a design, to go, okay, what about this? If I avoided this? So one thing is tracking. You just want to make sure, again, this is for legibility. You want to make sure it's not too close or too tight. You want to make sure you've got enough space in between the letters that you can read them. They're not too overlapping. In most cases, you can have a headline or a logo tight, but when you're having body copy, you don't want to do that. Leading, same thing. You don't want to have it too tight or too loose. You can, as a visual, I think this can be visually interesting. The too loose sometimes in certain cases. The too tight always looks a little weird as far as the leading, the space between the sentences. But sometimes too loose can be a design element, especially if you're trying to make something look airy, or you have a good background. You have something, you have some stuff in the background, low opacity. It's nice to see that through the leading when it's a little loose. So sometimes this is okay. The too tight generally is, you got to be careful. It's hard to read. It starts to look like just a bunch of gibberish. Making sure you don't stretch the text in general. You want to use the text as it is. If there's an extended font, you can use it. But if you start to stretch it yourself or condense it yourself, then it tends to mess up how the font was designed in general. So you want to use it, use it and use the instead of, for example, stretching it, increase use your tracking button and your spacing tools on InDesign to change it, as opposed to just dragging it and stretching it. In general, that does not look good. Readability. I love this. The white, you got to be careful if you have white text on a dark background, especially black. It sometimes just goes away, especially if it is a serif typeface. Sans serif does a little bit better. So here it is, high contrast. It's white and black, but the size is too small, so you can't read it. Then here's two colors where the values are too close. Blue and green being too close to the same value, too close to that 50% value, so you can't tell them apart. And then if the background's too crazy, you can't read it. So you just have to make sure that or be careful. Sometimes these colors are interesting. You just got to make sure, like the headline's standing out more than the actual text. The black and white is to put yellow type on a white background. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is a lawsuit that I think might have gone all the way to the Supreme Court. Websites, if they're trying to say something that would normally be illegal unless they've said it, so they're basically ripping you off, they will put it in really light yellow font on the white website so you can't see it as the reader. But it's there. So they've said, oh, we're going to rip you off, but you couldn't see it. Well, they can claim it's on there. And I think that might have gone way up, saying you can't do that. If you claim something is on your website or in a, like a drug, side effects, the people have to be able to read it. You can't just have it on there and have it not readable. So body copy, again, for readability, you got to make sure that it's not too close. So again, the bold has it too close, creates that look where it's a little bit hard to read. Widows and orphans. So you want to make sure you don't leave something hanging at the beginning of a column or at the end. And sometimes you do have to go in there and mess with it by hand after you copy and paste stuff. Widows and orphans. Those are very tricky. That's one of the things that I have certainly had go through to a final, just because you're in a hurry and you forget to check at the last minute. Double spacing. Do you guys ever do this? I do this because I'm old. Do you guys ever put double spaces between sentences? My impression is generally most people who are under 50 don't.
No.
No. Okay. This is a problem for me. We've talked about this in the past, but if you're in doing a document, you want to make sure you limit yourself to a few typefaces or one typeface and the style in that typeface. Too many typefaces gets, cluttered and messy. If you're using two fonts, which is good, in many cases, you want to make sure they go together. The first two is working good. The second two is not. Just two, definitely clashing. You want to make sure that if you're using two fonts, they go well. The one reason this is working well, it's as a sans serif font with a serif font. In this case, it's two serif fonts, and then there's just two crazy different. Also, you want to always think about your audience. Obviously, this is a kid's book, so it's okay to have a crazy font and crazy colors like this. The business report, even though that's pretty boring for a business report, you usually want to have a little bit jazzier than that, although sometimes not. Yep, you got to be careful about too fancy of a script. There is a place for that. Diplomas, I think I saw a diploma recently, and the font was something like this. It just looks so gorgeous, and you knew what it said. It said diploma, so sometimes that can be used very well. Too much stuff, too many bolds, underlines, italics, parentheses. They've obviously done too much here. And I have to say, I looked back at my emails. Sometimes I send you guys, and it does a little too much of this every once in a while. Making sure you're using your headlines well, and you can use all caps in a headline. This is the headlines, the place to use all caps, as opposed to inside the message generally, especially if you haven't used all caps for the headline. Using hierarchy, obviously this is going off the page, so you're just making sure you're, in this case, they have the bold, then they have italics, then they have the regular body style. In this case, they've just done one, the size difference, and then the body style. Alignments. So this is one of the things you really want to think about. Too much, this is too many different alignments, and justify. In general, the left alignment with the ragged right edge is the most readable. And so you just have to think about that. You have to look to make sure you don't have too many big spaces after the lines. And sometimes you have to go in to do that, to fix that manually. Margins. One thing is keep your margins and guides on in InDesign if you're using it. That way you don't mess up and violate those. The ragged edge, actually I had in my earlier class, someone had this edge was a problem. They had like 3 words in and then long words. And so you do have to check to make sure it's not too much. This is almost a little too even in some ways. I don't mind a little bit more raggediness than this, but this is obviously a little too much. Doing the easy thing, which is hitting the buttons. In general, like I hate the shadow thing. In general, most designs, as designers, you do not want to just use one of those effect buttons. Just not that, people won't pay you to do that. Using the right dashes. I always forget these words myself, but it's the hyphen, then the short dash, and then the long dash. You just want to make sure you use them well. The short dash is for dates generally and prices. And the long dash, the M dash, is for grammar, spacing something out like they have in this sentence. Many times, visually, we like the dash as designers over a comma. This is really where your English teacher would say, use a comma, not a dash. That's fine. Right, and that's talking about, you want to make sure that you trust yourself and try to, in this case, if you're at a design firm, when you have the boss, it's good to have your fellow designers look at stuff first before you throw it to your client or your boss. And the final check, try proofreading is good, no doubt. And I think that's it. Okay. It's interesting. Sometimes it's, oh, my camera came back. Had you guys heard of some of those before? Some of those I've mentioned in the past, especially the tracking, the leading, and the kerning type of thing. Had you guys heard about some of those previously?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. I want to add another thing that I have noticed in my later classes. It's not a type thing, although I have seen it in type with some of your fellow students in other classes. You really have to be careful about putting things in the corners. We did talk about that. We won the project. One of you guys put something in the corner. You have to make sure if you're using a design element, whether that's type or a shape, and you have it in the corner, you want to make sure that you're not just exposing the 25%, sort of what I call the kindergarten sun thing. Make sure it's farther in, off center a little bit so that you don't have that distraction. So I almost want to add that in there. Okay. Nick and I talked a little bit about the extra credit. Nick, you want to tell Belinda your a takeaway or two from our guest speaker we had last Friday?
Definitely had a lot in his portfolio. It was very fascinating. He was very candid about, his feelings about his work. He didn't claim to be a perfectionist. He was very honest with, procrastination and diligence is very difficult. You just got to stay on your work. Make sure you're always working, always improving, being disciplined, and don't sell yourself short. Moderately price your stuff. Don't undersell yourself, and don't ever work for free. But have a healthy amount of things in your portfolio, and don't focus on one thing. Broaden your horizons, and by that I mean don't just do one thing you like over and over. Make sure,
Right.
do stuff that looks professional, or look at professional things that are done. And I would even go as far to say is, emulate what they're doing right, what they're doing, don't emulate what they're doing wrong, or what, you see things that, look at companies that don't have business and see what they might be doing wrong, or might
Right.
not be design related, but still.
His diversity comments were very interesting. He certainly said, as if you are a male gender, be sure and have some feminine things in your portfolio, and vice versa. If you're a female gender, be sure and have some, or macho or manly things in your portfolio. Also, children things versus adult, just because you show that you are not designing just for yourself. I thought that was very interesting. So Nick, did you catch the price on the going price for a logo if it's not your mom?
Oh my God, yes, I did.
Tell Belinda what it is.
$800.
$800.
That's what your going rate should be for strangers.
Yep.
And if it's friends, I was actually floored by the friends and family price.
He said just $500 if he's doing for friends and family, right?
$350 to $500
Okay.
for friends and family, but $800 for strangers. That was crazy.
And that's the minimum. I mean, if you are, for example, I was talking to a design firm, and they were doing the logo for a nonprofit here in town, which included a lot more than just a logo. It was a complete refit of their website too. They were charging $25,000. Now that's a bigger project, but if
Wow.
you can charge a lot more depending on what you're doing. But if you're just doing a logo, like he did a logo for it looks like he did several charities, but then also just small companies, and $800. I thought that was great to hear.
For a company that would have a logo done, all their reworks and everything for $25,000, how do they not nickel and dime you looking for somebody cheaper just to even knock $5,000 off that price?
Well, that is a great question. So yes, usually if you're bidding for something like that, you are bidding for against someone else. So yes, let's say that the company could say, okay, well, so and so bid 20,000, I'm going to go with them. Usually this is and I'm not going to name names, but believe it or not, $5,000 is not too much in regard to a pretty big company. If you have a company that's a tech company or a big nonprofit, I'm not talking about one of the museums. They have millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget in their marketing. They're really going to pick the designer they're most comfortable with, and the team that they get, the package, and most times I've seen companies not be swayed by 5,500 if they like your design process, which is usually the case. And something like that, you don't do any work for them. They buy the design company for a certain amount, and then before you haven't done the design yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. New York City, if you have something like big companies in New York City, it can be millions of dollars to redo a logo and all the stuff that goes with it, just because there's so much stuff to put it on. But yeah, so I thought that was really good, the $800. I think the going rate when he was in school 6 or 7 years ago for a local company was more like 500. So I think it's interesting it's gone up to 800, which I think is great. Have you guys been to that website where you can get $5 a logo done?
Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr. Have you guys been on that?
I've looked at it, yeah.
And you can, so you can get stuff done there, and it looks like it. I mean, it looks, if you're competing, if someone says, I want you, let's say Belinda, would you do a logo for me? And you say, well, I'm glad to do it. It's $500. And they say, well, I could go to Fiverr and get it for $5. Then your answer should be, Go right ahead.
Yep.
Please call me when they won't send it to you in a Illustrator file that you can adjust. So yeah, it's you get what you pay for with that Fiverr.com. Okay, interesting. Well, with that, one thing about the extra credit that I thought was very interesting also, Belinda, was he was still interesting in Behance. He has his portfolio in Behance. He still has his student portfolio, and he has basically a portfolio for every job he's had. So he has a portfolio for bricks where he is now, and he worked for a bank. He has a portfolio for his stuff from there. And I thought that was a good way to do it, as opposed to trying to have a professional portfolio and pick the best of each company that you worked for. So I thought that was interesting. Different from, well, there's another way. The other way would be to just have your professional portfolio and pick your best things from the bank, best things from bricks. So that was interesting also. And probably he did say he would not show his studio portfolio ever again to get a job. So, but if you want to see it, it's a very interesting portfolio. Okay. So I have put, for example, Nick, I have put your 100 points on the extra credit on there, but it has not gone into your grade calculation yet.
Okay.
And so, it won't till the end. So I will put that in at the end. So it's in there. It's showing me to do it. And that's why I have it in there and who went. But it is not in the calculation yet. I didn't want to, I tried it. I don't want to mess up the calculation with that. And when I did it over the weekend. I think I put it in there. I was like, oops, everyone's grade changed too much.
Gotcha.
And it somehow was affecting other people's grades. So I've got to work on that to try to get that to work right. Yeah. So Belinda, there are 2 more guest speakers, I think, in December. I have to look at my calendar, but basically the next 2 Fridays after Thanksgiving. Okay. Not the Friday immediately after Thanksgiving, but after that. And if you attend either one of those, and Mr. Perry, just tell Mr. Perry you're there, I'm offering the chance to go to any of those and get the extra credit also. Okay. If you want to do that there. And Nick, you can still go, certainly. It is it's always Friday at 10 till 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm assuming there's no points going forward, but yeah, if they are still gonna be there, I was curious who they would be.
Yes, I'm not adding it's a great.
Of course not.
You are not the first person to ask that. My other class asked that too, but no, it's just you just get 100 points to add to that.
No, I wasn't expecting it. I was just curious who they were going to be.
Yes, the 4th and the 11th of December. So yes, I do not know. I don't think it's going to be a professional person like Chris Montes. I think it's a discussion. There is going to be another professor on there. One of them's about critiques, trying to make critiques better. Also, I think there is a portfolio. A senior student is going to show their portfolio and talk about it, which is also good too. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So with that, you guys have already uploaded, I'm guessing, your wordmark logos. Great. I will grade those, and then I will see you guys on Monday after Thanksgiving. You guys have a good, safe Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you.
And we will finish up the semester.
All righty. See you next week.
See you. Bye.